Right, so the idea of this video is to show you guys how to do a lab report. And normally you will have something like this. So you will have collected several pieces of data. Normally you have 5 for each attempt that you make, but in this case we have 7. But it really doesn't matter. Either way, it's all gonna work the same way. So this would be my dependent variable. This is what I'm changing, and this is my independent variable. And again, remember that I normally do. So this is one trial, this is another trial, and so on and so on. And I should have at least 5 trials for each, which is this much. And in this case, we have 7 trials for each. And what I'm going to show you is how I get my averages, how I get my random error, and so on. In this case, one of my students, what he was doing was taking a slinky, and then he was changing the number of coils in that slinky, and then he was timing how long it took for the slinky to go back and forth based on the number of coils. That's it. So okay, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the average for these measurements, because that's what I'm going to plot, right? I'm going to plot this against the average. So I'm just going to call this time average, and the average is just, now I can do this the old-fashioned way, like just add them up and then divide by 7, but Excel has a function called average, so that would be not very smart, right? So average from B2 to H2, and that's it. That just calculates my average. Then I don't need to do this again. I just Control C, and then I just paste it over here, and here's all my average. Now the next thing that I'm going to need to plot is the random error. So random error in T. Now to calculate the random error, remember there's several ways to do this. You could do max minus mean divided by square root of n. I'm going to do this using the standard deviation and then dividing by the square root of the total number of values, which in this case is 7. But you will have to do it with 5 or whatever number you're using. Okay, so again, equals, and then the standard deviation, and then if you're using the German version of this, no problem. All you need to do is Google standard deviation for Excel in German, and you will very quickly find a list of the equivalents. I'm using standard deviation.p, but it really makes no difference which one I'm using. So standard deviation.p of B2 to H2, and then I need to divide by the square root, and then to do that I just write SQRT, so square root of 7 in this case, because that's my number of measurements. Oh, there you go. And that's my standard deviation. Done. So with this I could already start plotting. Now sometimes of course what will happen here is that I want my error to only have one decimal. Now sorry, one significant figure. Now the problem here is that if I look at this error, this one only has, so the significant figure that I care about is at the second decimal, whereas in the next one it's at the first decimal. So there is no way that I can make this automatic in Excel, or at least not that I know how to, and that's going to be too much work. So all I'm going to do is just manually do this. Okay, so this is 0.05 because 47 rounds to 5, then this is 0.1, and then 0.1 also, this is 0.07 because 0.065 rounds to 7, 0.06, 0.02, and 0.1. So that's my random, that's really my random error to one significant figure. Now if I do this, of course this means that I need to change my average time in order to reflect this number of significant figures. So let's do this, average time, and then so this is 11.51, and because this has 2 decimals, this also needs to have 2 decimals, so 11.51, and the rest do not go here. In this case we only have 1 decimal, so this one we can only report it to 0.7, so this will be 16.7. For the next one, again 1 decimal, so 18.9, then 2 decimals, 23.63, then 25.96 because 55 runs to 6, then 27.61, and finally 29.9. And that's it. And now we can plot this. Now what I'm going to do, because I want to paste this into Logger Pro, I'm just going to make an extra sheet, and I'm going to do something called paste value. So just I click here, I have an extra sheet. I click here, I Control C, so I copy everything, go to the next sheet, Control V, and then I really don't care about anything except for these last two columns. So I take this and I just delete. There you go. And now I actually want the random error after the average time, so I'm going to copy this here and paste it here, and then I'm just going to delete this column. And that's all I need. Now I can just paste this into Logger Pro and plot it. In the next video, I will show you how to plot this and how to figure out the errors in your graph.